they had one of their lowest points when they blew a 28-point lead to Baylor. And that was when the Baylor loss to Texas State was in the back of our minds as well. Oh, good Lord Almighty. I mean, it starts with that running game. RJ Harvey, certified bad man. What can you say about a kid that ended up running for over 200 yards on the ground? He had 3 rushing touchdowns. One of them nearly went for an entire football field as well. He had a 92-yard run for a touchdown. It really felt like it set the tone for the game. Did it not? That was in the third quarter when UCF was already in the process of putting these boys away. Oh boy, did they ended up putting them away for sure. And it's really a maturation of a football team. You know, UCF in their games against Kansas State, Baylor, Oklahoma, West Virginia as well, 4 or 5 losses in Big 12 conference play. They've been in positions to win. They just couldn't finish the job. And now in these last couple of weeks, and maybe it's just from beating Cincinnati, a fellow newcomer in the Big 12, maybe they found that conference. Maybe they found ways to not only start fast, but also to finish even better. So that's a big example of that right there. Because UCF, they opened the game up with 24 unanswered points. Oklahoma State was shut out. But the big thing, and this is the biggest difference of this UCF team between now and what we saw from them in September, is that UCF in that second half, they never took their foot off of that gas pedal at all. UCF ended up winning the second half 21-3. They never put their foot off the gas pedal, and that was for multiple of reasons. For side note, shout out to RJ Harvey, by the way. He does eclipse that 1,000-yard mark on the season, and that's the first time that we've seen any running back from UCF able to do that since Kevin Smith all the way back in 2007. That was when UCF was in a much different conference. Matter of fact, UCF, they were actually in Conference USA the last time that it happened. Like I said, things do change fast in this beautiful game of college football. So, RJ Harvey was special. What else? Defense was absolutely spectacular. 4 turnovers forced. At least 4 turnovers forced in this particular game. They were able to get 3 interceptions. And you know how we were just kind of raving about Ollie Gordon earlier this year? Yeah, Ollie Gordon was shut down in this game. He fumbled the ball, and that's only the second time that Ollie Gordon has fumbled the ball all season long. But also, Ollie Gordon was bottled up even without that fumble being accounted for. This is a guy that was torching Big 12 defenses all year long. He only had 25 yards on the ground. He never had a run more than 10 yards either. That's the center point and the vocal point of that offense. And it even was more apparent and more important that the running game had to get going, particularly in that first half, because in that first half, it started to rain. Not only did it rain, it became a monsoon. So for most of the time in the first half, the weather conditions made it extremely difficult to pass the football. And by the time things slowed down right before halftime from a weather perspective, Oklahoma State was already out of it. They were forced to kind of abandon the run, so to speak. And they're just not built to win in that particular way. That's why Oklahoma State struggled tremendously in the beginning of the season as well, when we saw them lose to South Alabama, when we saw them lose on the road as well against Iowa State. It's a big reason. That is a big-time reason for that. But John Rhys Plumlee, he looked really good in this game, though. He's quarterback for UCF, threw for nearly 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, had a 75-yard dot to Kobe Hudson right before the half as well. And he actually caught all 3 touchdown passes from John Rhys Plumlee. So, really good game for UCF. This win for them over number 15 Oklahoma State, it represents the highest ranked regular season win for UCF since 2009, when they took down a then number ranked 13 Houston squad at home. And again, this was dating back to when both Houston and UCF were in Conference USA. And not only that, this also will mark the 100 career victory for Gus Malzahn. People will forget this, but Gus Malzahn has a national championship to his resume dating back to when he was head coach of Auburn. That was when Auburn had that amazing run to the national championship with Cam Newton and that supporting cast as well. So what does that mean? So what do these two teams have to look forward to in the last couple of weeks of the season? UCF is now 5-5 to keep their bowling hopes alive. 2 games that they have remaining: on the road against Texas Tech, and then they are at home for their senior day against Houston. Now, we don't know exactly how the model will stack them. We haven't taken a look and analyzed the Saturday games yet as a recording of this pod, but conversely, what we were looking at here is that UCF has 2 winnable games. They'll have 2 shots to get that 6th win and go bowling. And it's 2 winnable games, 2 good shots. So if UCF, if they can get that 6th win, especially with that massive losing streak that they had in the beginning of the year, that 5-game losing streak in late September and October, then that's a successful season. And especially considering this is a team that is making a transition from the American to the Big 12, where the level of competition is simply so much higher. And then for Oklahoma State still controls their destiny in terms of making it to the Big 12 championship. Oklahoma State will likely not be ranked in the college football playoff. I wouldn't rank Oklahoma State after this tragedy. I certainly hope the college football playoff shares that opinion, but they are still currently tied for 2nd place against Oklahoma, Iowa State, Kansas State. They're still tied with all of those games. Now, Iowa State has to go play Texas, so that is the only team Oklahoma State has to worry about realistically here, as Iowa State beat Oklahoma State back in September. But if the Cowboys do win out, and again, Cowboys do have 2 winnable games, maybe this game will help refocus them for all intents and purposes, Houston and BYU. If they're able to win both of these games, then Oklahoma State will be 9-3, and they'll very likely be taking on either Texas or somebody else in that Big 12 championship. But Cowboys getting to the Big 12 championship, that's still a realistic possibility. Just maybe not being able to do that as a team that's ranked in the top 25. Because this is a really tough loss. Even though if this is only their 3rd loss of the year, this could be a game that keeps them out of the top 25 for the rest of the year. I'm just keeping that real with you guys. But Oklahoma State still has all of their goals in sight, and the same thing could be said about the UCF Knights in their first year in the Big 12.